What's up, guys? We're back with another episode of the Disruption Podcast. It's your boy, Ankur Garg, with my co-host,
Ludwig Araujo. What's up, everyone?
So, I feel like it's been a blast from the past for the past couple episodes, and I just can't stop this train. There's nothing I can do about it, right? I just got to go reach deep into the network pool and see what I can find.
It's got a mind of its own now.
Today, I have the special pleasure of introducing one of the guys behind a nutraceutical manufacturing plant. He's doing some really cool stuff in terms of flavor housing and creating new products for different brands that have been existing and kind of like on the shelves for decades almost for some of the brands that he's working with. Guys, at home, it's my pleasure to introduce you to Marc Krauthamer. How's it going, man?
I'm good, man. How are you? How you been?
I've been good. We got you all the way from Long Island.
Yeah, man.
How bad was the drive?
It wasn't that bad, actually. Took Staten Island through. Apparently, there's an earthquake on the way here.
There was an earthquake, yeah. So you were going over the one of the bridges when the earthquake hit, maybe?
Yeah, I think so. I'm happy I didn't really read my text message after I got here because I probably would have freaked out a little bit, you know. So,
what a world to live in where a 4.8 earthquake happens on podcast day.
20 minutes from here?
At least none of the decorations or anything fell off the wall. That's nice.
Right.
Well, I guess we're not going to need therapy for the earthquake. We all survived, so that's one problem down. But let's tell everyone about the manufacturing plant that you've started. It's called AMP Nutraceuticals.
yes.
And let's tell everyone at home what AMP is, what AMP does, what you guys specialize in.
So we started a company about 2016 when we had disengaged from another manufacturing company that wasn't in the best shape. They had some legal issues, so we kind of backed away from there and started our own. We started the industry in 2016. We started our business in 2016 to where we owned our own. And we started off we found co-packers that we would do overall financing of raw materials. We would buy raw materials. We would formulate products. We would flavor products, do all the R&D, and we would send it to co-packers. They would handle the whole testing aspect of everything, from the raw material ID to the finished product testing, micro heavy metals, all that stuff. They would pharmacy, they would blend, they would co-pack, and they would drop ship to our clients. So we did that from about 2016 to about 2019. But when we started doing that, we actually opened up a supplement store when we left our previous employer, and we were doing it remotely at the back of a supplement store, while we were actually selling brands as a retail store.
So the idea is all the different supplements that are available at like a GNC or Vitamin Shop or Total Nutrition or whatever one of these stores are, whether it's capsules, powders, any one of those types of things, those are things that you guys make.
Correct, yes.
In your facility.
Yes.
How many different products do you guys make?
So I would say total amount of SKUs, I would say
1 million.
No, probably about 150, 200, I would say.
So that's a good quantity of stuff to make.
Different products, yes.
So I'm sure, what do you prefer? Like 100 to 200 products that you consistently make, or like 1,000 products that you make every one-off?
No, definitely a smaller amount, higher volume, more consistently make, 100%. It's better.
That makes
all around.
sense.
Yeah.
So what goes into the whole process of making one of these supplements? I feel like no one at home has really seen me pull the curtain back on like that topic. So like from start to finish, the guy's like, hey, I have an idea. I want to make this new capsule product, like a nootropic. A lot of people have been talking about brain health and stuff like that. Let's talk through how that process would work.
So to start off with any ingredients that you want to do, like if you have a formula that you already had put together, it will start with that, the costing process, troubleshooting the raw materials that are in it and the cost per those raw materials versus dosages, how many servings you want, the total quantity that you're looking to order. We would go through the costing model first. And
do you feel like people come to you with the formula ready to go?
More often than not, typically we don't usually deal with startups. So typically it's CPG brands that are already in the marketplace that they will come to us because they're having an issue with the current supplier, with the current manufacturer, whether it be quality issues, whether it be lead time issues, or a host of other reasons, communication, a lot of stuff could go wrong. So they would come to us. Typically it's word of mouth because we're not really big on marketing. I know we're doing a lot of stuff now to change that a bit.
Finally.
But yeah. We always built our name and our company off
Word of mouth.
Yeah, word of mouth. We just have a strong network. We're good at what we do. We don't typically lose clients unless we opt not to do business with that client anymore, which could be for a host of reasons, which doesn't really happen often. So yeah, typically it's products that already exist in the marketplace. So it's a lot easier because it's already out there. And yeah, we'll go through the costing process. Costing process works. We'll go through the R&D process. Capsules a little bit easier. The R&D process is more internally. versus externally. Yeah, and then we would they would place a PO, we would make the product, and we would go. You know.
So in terms of formulations, these guys are coming to you with like, hey, this is my formula. I know there's this vocabulary term that most people don't know, is that there's got to be a specification sheet.
Yes,
Right?
yes.
And so that specification sheet is what the FDA is essentially being told, like, hey, we're renting line time at this manufacturing facility and they're going to make this, right? And then you guys have people do quality checks and so on and so forth that actually verify that that's what you guys made. And then the customer is essentially responsible for that formulation that they're now putting out in the market.
That's correct. Let me backtrack. And I kind of went from like start to finish. I started talking, then I said that when you ship the product. Yeah, there's a lot that goes on. So a capsule product would be a just an example, like you put out the anisotropic capsule product. Once the formula is done and the price point is approved versus the quantity, we will put it to label compliance. So we would generate a supplement fact panel for that product.
How does that even work? How does like your system know what to spit out? Is it like a program you have to buy?
It's not a program. We're very well versed in FDA label compliance and how.
So it's like a Rain Man moment. Someone in your quality department just like
Yeah.
looks at the formula, is like, I know exactly what this is.
Yeah.
And just like writes it out.
Well, certain things like even like vitamins, right? You'd have your percent daily value. So like the FDA they give percent daily values.
And those CFRs that they put out with, hey, if you
exactly.
have this much
So
of this,
21 CFR 111 has a majority of the guidance is on there. So it's just a matter of plug and play. You know what I mean? If your daily value of vitamin C is, I'm just throwing random numbers out there.
Hey, what does CFR stand for? Is it like certified federal regulation or something?
Code of Federal Regulations.
That-
Code of Federal Regulations. Sorry.
Mark knows everything about this industry, inside and out. Okay, so I mean,
So we would create the panel and then we would send it over to them to make sure that it matches their label compliance. So typically if it's a product in the marketplace, 9 out of 10 times if we're doing business with them, they probably come from a larger scale manufacturer. So usually their label compliance is pretty on point. It's just a matter of us approving it to what we're making that's going into the product. Like certain things like herbs of commerce, right? Like they give the guidance for any herbal extract, right? Like you want ashwagandha, right? Mm-hmm. Like you have to specify the Latin name on it. You have to specify the part of the plant that it comes from and the extract ratio. Like certain things have to be on the label as a part of label compliance, right?
Jesus.
So we've been on this podcast for 8 minutes and we haven't gone off the rails yet, but I'm going to invite you guys to go off the rails with me. Can we spill the tea on a couple things?
Sure, go.
Mark's like, oh man, where are we about to go with
I know, I
this?
took a deep breath for a second.
All right, so I mean, everyone at home should know that Mark is a super legit manufacturer, right? He's got all of his ducks in a row, and his I's dotted, his T's crossed, all that stuff. But like, people know that I've used to own pretty successful supplement companies, and I'm still involved in a bunch of different products and different things that I do. Yo, Mark, how much does it like upset you when there's these fly-by-night manufacturers that don't even have a manufacturing facility that like go to these like expos and are like out here pitching business, and then you're out here doing everything right? Like when we talk about disrupting, it's like, oh, I actually have an actual manufacturing facility where we make the stuff in front of my own eyes, rather than these brokerage firms that pretend like they're a manufacturing facility.
Yeah. You really want me to comment?
I want you to comment, man.
So it's super frustrating. I mean, I think it's just a matter of being honest with. I mean, we're a B2B business, so we work business to business, not business to consumer. So I think it's just a matter of being honest with the other people you're doing business with. I mean, if you're a broker, call space page, you're a broker, and you're a marketer. So you might be very good at generating leads. You might be very good at putting a product out there, show people what their brand can be, right? But not be the manufacturer. But just say that. And say, this is our expertise, this is our value in what we do. And a lot of people just flat out lie. You know, it's something as simple as getting CGMP certified as a warehouser versus a manufacturer. And your certificate says that. But you have people that get NSF certified for a warehouse, which I could have a 1,000 square foot warehouse, put some racks up, and get certified in a matter of 30 minutes with the proper SOPs. Like, it's not hard to do. You know what I mean? So, I mean, those are the documents. But to the rest of business out there, and most people that have brands, they don't know the difference. They just see NSF and say, oh, it's NSF. That they're not full scale. They're not 21 CFR 111 for full scale manufacturing. You know, like we buy the raw materials, we certify the vendors, we have spec sheets for every single raw material that comes in. We test every single raw material that comes in. And we go through the actual manufacturing process. You know, we blend, we bottle, we encapsulate, we have a stick pack machine, you know, and yeah, we do from start to finish. So a lot of people pawn off like it's such an easy thing to do. And it's not. There's a lot. So where a lot of these brokers go out there and they put all the money into marketing and pretend to be something that they're not, we put our money into inventory and raw material hold. And
I gotta tell you, man, there were times that I would go to these shows, find a manufacturer, and be like, "Yeah, come on down to our facility." I'm like, "Okay, cool." And you know me, I'm insanely on time. My buddy Riz will crack up that I'm like an hour early sometimes.
Right.
I legitimately saw them take down the sign from the actual manufacturing facility and put their sign over it.
Oh my God.
Like, you know, like on like a cargo van where there's magnet strips.
Yeah.
Like literally, I mean, I know things have changed for the brand that I'm talking about right now or thinking of. I'm sure you know exactly who I'm thinking of. But literally, like putting up the sign an hour before I'm supposed to walk in. I like obviously take a couple of photos so I could show, you know, people back at the office. I walk in and they're just like touring the whole place like it's theirs.
That's crazy.
And I'm like literally seeing people in lab coats with the other logo on it. And I'm like, what is going on over here? And just walking through the whole thing like it's nothing.
What's the downside for the end consumer or for the end business that's receiving services from this broker? What's the downside?
So normally when you're working with a broker or a middleman, the costs go up. Everyone knows that, right? And so the brand owners will pass that additional cost down to the end consumer for what they're going to be charging. And that's probably the downside of number one. I think the second downside is that these brokers aren't doing compliance the way that Mark is over at AMP Nutraceuticals. So like little things like, oh yeah, the broker's like, cool, you can put the FDA approved logo on the label. Like, no, you can't. Right? That's not how this works, right? Yeah, you can. Oh yeah, you go ahead add NSF, no problem. You know, then the brand owner gets a letter saying that, hey, this has to stop, and then there has to be a recall of all that product that's out on the market. And it's one of those scenarios where like I shake brand owners up. I'm like, dude, you don't know what you don't know. What are you doing? Like, what do you mean you're going to make something that someone's putting inside their body and you didn't even go to the site to see what they're making? It blows my mind. Every time I hear stuff like that goes down.
And how can you tell? How can if I'm a brand that's manufacturing with one of these brokers, right? And you were talking to me, what do I have to do to find out if this guy's legit?
So I guess, you know, let's just say I was a brand new client. They ran into Mark, and, you know, on site. I would ask Mark, hey, how many production lines do you have? And Mark would say
3.
And then I'm like, oh, that's awesome. And is there bandwidth? How many times do you do a run in a day? Are you doing like overnight shifts or anything like that?
Yeah, we have a break out. We have a single 8-hour shift.
Mark's like, yeah, we have unlimited bandwidth. Send us all the business.
Well, I'm gonna tell everybody because worst case now we just invest money in scale. But
well, there's just certain questions you would ask a manufacturer, not a marketing agency or a brokerage, right? And then if a manufacturer says they have a 12-line thing and they make 13 different types of products, they're definitely lying. Right? Unless they're like doing $500 million, right? To have all of those production lines and all those different like packaging materials, there's just no way. It just doesn't exist. I mean, I know of maybe 3 manufacturing facilities in the country that can do everything, right? That has NSF sports certification, that can do THC, that can do gummies, that can do liquids, that can do whatever else. It just doesn't exist in one facility.
That's actually a really good point. That's actually a really big red flag that people say they can do everything, because the people that actually manufacture typically stick to what they're good at. Right. I mean, when we first started in 2016, and we were always transparent with the clients that we used a co-packer, and they charged us a tolling fee, but we always took the financial risk and bought all the materials, and we would do the specifications, we would do the flavoring, all that stuff with the product, but initially, my former business partners, they would offer like, oh, we do gummies, we do this, we do that. I'm like, why are you offering that? Because if you look at our website, it's on there right now, but it hasn't changed in like 6 years. The only reason we had the website up was just to cater to certain international clients. It looks professional. You have to have a website when you're B2B.
Wait. By the time this episode comes out, the new website will be up.
So so we can edit that. Just edit that whole part out right there. So I don't want people to look at it.
Shameless plug. He hired me to make him a new website.
Yeah, exactly. So when somebody does everything, typically they probably do nothing. That's a really valid point. Even like soft gels, like I would say 98% of people that claim they do soft gels are actually just buying bulk soft gels, because soft gel manufacture is such a precise craft that typically people who manufacture soft gels, that's all they do is soft gels. And they manufacture bulk soft gels to provide elsewhere. Something like capsules is a lot more versatile. So it's easier to get to buy in a capsule machine versus a soft gel or a gummy. Like soft gel and gummy are very definitive.
Yeah,
jobs.
specific, right?
You're very specific, yeah. Like you have to have a whole facility. It's the same thing with liquids. You have to have a whole facility designed for those things versus doing like dry powder or stick packs. Like stick packs, it's taking dry powder and just putting it through a hopper that's going through a stick pack machine and making single serves. You know what I mean? So that's easier to vertically integrate that into your powder facility.
Got it.
But if all of a sudden you're doing soft gels, like that's a pretty hefty investment, not only on the actual equipment side to manufacture it, but also on the regulatory side and testing side.
So what we're saying is, if you're like a New Jersey diner kind of menu, and you're offering every single possible thing, there's just no way that you're going to be the best at any one of those individual things.
Right.
So, I mean, what are you the best at over at AMP?
Probably our strongest suit is flavor systems. So we're really good at flavoring. We flavor in house. So we basically have a bunch of different flavor houses we buy base flavors from. And then people think that the flavor systems are just from the flavor house. So it's not. Flavoring is taking a base formula and a base formula mixed with a base flavor, and then using the excipients to mask the base formula and draw that flavor out, right? So like if you have something that tastes bitter, right? If you have something like BCL blades traditionally is a perfect example. Like they by themselves are very like bitter taste to it. And they don't taste good. They have a very distinct taste to it.
For Spotify and YouTube, I'm just going to say branch chain amino acids.
Yes.
Thank you, AI transcriptions.
Sorry.
Right. They're usually bitter. You're absolutely right. And so there's only certain types of flavor that'll even work with those types of ingredients, right?
Well, and using the right excipients. So like we know how to use the right excipients to be able to max that, and really the whole goal of the excipients is to suppress the base formula and be able to make that flavor pop and draw it out, right? And there are certain ingredients that we use to basically step on top of that base formula to suppress whatever bad taste it is there. I'm not going to say what we use because there's different types of ingredients.
It's a secret sauce.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of different things you can use, you know, like there's citric acid, there's malic acid, some flavor houses sell their own bitter blocker, there's flavor sweet, there's masking agents, you know, like for certain, I'll give you one little hint, right? Like there's certain bitter taste that you can use highly branched cyclic dextrin that people don't know about that will actually, it'll flatten out very bitter taste. Like we used to use it when teocrine was big in the beginning before they came out with the 40% microencapsulated. It was super, you put a little dab on your tongue.
And it takes away all the taste?
Well, flavor? No, what I'm saying with the teocrine, you put a little dab on your tongue of the pure stuff and it's like you're ripping your tongue out. It's so horribly bitter.
Yeah.
But like we used to use highly branched cyclic dextrin. It didn't mask it totally.
It tamped it down.
It tamped down that bitterness, you know? But like that's just through a lot of R&D and thousands of hours of playing with these ingredients to see what works and what doesn't work. And that's also why you see some type of formulas use very specific flavors. Like you'll see a lot of like greens products, right? Like they're big on pineapple because it has that certain draw to it that helps mask and goes along with that greens taste. You know what I mean?
That makes sense.
So some people try and do like a chocolate greens. It's like, it's not going to taste that good no matter what you do.
It tastes like dirt, no matter how you try.
Yeah, so you try and keep certain flavor systems to align. But there are certain products out there that you can that are just easier to work with, that can mask, that are easier to mask than others. And a combination of the multiple flavor houses that we use and different types of flavors that we put inside a product and the way we mask products, and also get a feel for our clients. Every client's different, you know? So some people like it more sweet. Some people like it less sweet. You know, if you have a branched chain amino acid product, you're probably not going to make it super sweet because it's something that you drink all day. People usually put in like 20, 30 ounces of water, you know what I mean? So you just got to make sure you balance it out the right way, you know?
My favorite is when I see one of those like gym girls with like a whole gallon of water
Yeah.
as their BCAAs, and then they paint a little fish on it. It's like, just keep swimming, just keep swimming. And they're like, just keep drinking, or whatever they write on it. Those are the best.
Exactly.
So, I mean, you know, we named the show the Disruption Podcast, and I wanted to have you on the show because I feel like the way that you have been disrupting for the decade or 13, 15 years that you've been in nutraceuticals is honesty and integrity in the stuff that you guys make. And I feel like that's the true disruption in a world where like people are amino spiking from back in the day, and people aren't meeting label claim on the products that they make, and people aren't even owning a real facility anymore, and all this other nonsense.
Well, let me actually revert back one thing because I just don't want to get misconstrued. So when we started our company in 2016, when we left our former employer, we were not a full-blown manufacturer. So we were outsourced. We were buying all the raw materials, taking all the financial risk in the asset investments, and we were saying to co-packers to actually produce the product for us, right? They had a certain area in the warehouse. They would hold over inventory, our bottles, our lids, all our scoops, all raw materials. And in about 2019, they just couldn't keep up. So then we got a bigger facility, and we started doing a portion of the manufacturing. We took all the raw materials and started inbounding them to our facility. And then we would send them weighed out products with all the specifications and batch records to them, and then they would pack it. And then 2020 hit, COVID, and it was just everyone like shut down. Like we didn't know what was going on. So that's when we scaled to a bigger facility, and we just went all in. That's when we got a blender. That's when we got encapsulation machines. That's when we started building our packaging lines, and that's when we started getting full-blown manufacturing. And since we started that process, we outsource zero. We do 100% from raw material procurement to finished product in the marketplace. We do 100%. We refuse to. Just all the trouble we went through with other people. And one thing that I've learned is with a lot of brokers out there, and we experienced this, and we weren't even a broker because we were taking the financial risk, even though we weren't the actual ones blending and packaging the product. Majority of the risk, 90% of the risk is in the raw material and the asset procurement, right? So the more you deal with other people, you realize that you're taking majority of the risk anyway. So like our next logical step was just not to deal with them. And not only that, but like there's a lot that they could do wrong. There's a lot of these brokers out there, they'll take on any business. They don't care. They'll take on anything, and all they do is put it back to the manufacturer. Right. And they'll take a job and they'll quote in 48 hours, no problem. What they're going to do is they're going to take that quote, and then they're going to shove it down the throat of 5, 6, 7, or 8, or whatever manufacturers they have, and then they can see who can respond back the fastest and who's going to give the most competitive price point, and they're going to add their markup on top of that price point. So it's kind of like a boiler room mentality, you know? So I would say kind of like what you said, like ask questions, like ask them what type of capsule, if they do capsules, ask them what type of capsule machines they have, what their daily capacity is, because a lot of people lie. A lot of people lie also about their capacity. Like I see some of these manufacturing companies put on their sites that I know, like the way they're
5 billion capsules a day.
Yeah, it's like or they can blend 85,000 kilos a day. It's like, dude, you probably have like 98 people in blending. You know what I mean? Like even if you did one a day and you had X amount of Y cubic feet blenders, like it's math. The math does not work. You must have 30 Supermans working for you legitimately because it's just not possible. You know, it's
like that Tom Hanks movie where he's like, "Is it time to get serious, guys?" When they're talking about him being a pilot and like that goes into it. At the end of the day, it's just the reality of most manufacturers is that only a handful of them have integrity and tell you the truth.
Right.
And I think that's kind of been the best way that you've disrupted, at least in the market and your clients and everything that you've been working with. So, I mean, for what it's worth, thank you, Mark.
You're welcome.
Thank you for keeping it real. We appreciate you for that.
Well, I try to suppress myself a little bit because I get very passionate and worked up about what we do. You know, you see a lot of people out there that just they're not ethical. And to see that is just super frustrating, especially in an industry like this. Especially, I feel like on a deeper level when it's B2B, because like as other businesses, like you're affecting other people's business.
That's right.
By the things you're saying, and not only that, but you're affecting a lot of people's jobs and livelihoods. Yeah. Like there are a lot of brands that put really bad stuff in the marketplace, and at the end of the day, it was just about the brands had no idea, but they didn't know what to look for in the testing process. But I mean, honestly, if you start a brand and you're manufacturing product and selling it as a CPG brand in the marketplace, you should understand your liability and risk and be asking the right questions. Yeah. You know.
Let's change direction here real quick. We didn't really get into the history of how you even got to this point, right? Because I'm sure you weren't in high school saying to yourself, I want to own a nutraceutical company, a manufacturing company when I get older, right? How did this all happen?
Well, ironically, no, not at all. So I wasn't really the best. I was more of an athlete in high school. I went on to I tried college a little bit afterwards. Didn't work out for me, dropped out. So a couple of friends of mine went away to college. My brother went away to college, upstate New York, to SUNY schools. And I figured I don't want to just work. Like I want to see what it's like to go away to college. So I went back to school and I brought my GPA up, and I got accepted to the University of Buffalo.
Okay.
In a physical therapy program. It was all prerequisites to it, but I still got accepted the program. But for me, that was my biggest academic life accomplishment. So I went away to school, lived with my brother, dropped out before the first semester ended.
Really?
Because I realized I'm a hands-on learner, you know. So it wasn't for me. I wanted to see what it was like to go away. I accomplished that. Came home, worked for a little bit, and then I ended up joining the Marine Corps. Well, enlisting in the Marine Corps from 2006 2012. When I was in Iraq in 2008 2009, I worked out a lot. Everyone there works out a lot. You know, when you're off time, you're not patrolling, or you're not on duty. You're either working out or in the chow hall.
08 to 12, you said.
I was in my time of service from 2006 to 2012.
And you were in Iraq how long?
2008 to 2009.
Oh, wow.
We went from September 2008 to April 2009.
Okay.
So being over there and obviously you take a lot of supplements when you're there. When I came home, a lot of people would ask me because I put on so much size when I was there. And I've never taken anything anabolic, nothing like that in my life. I've always been all natural. I always prided myself in just like lifting heavy and eating right and building that way.
Chicken and broccoli all day.
Yeah, and a lot of rice and oatmeal. Yeah. But yeah, and I come home and everyone would ask me like what I'm taking. And when I came home, I wasn't buying supplements. I wasn't buying like blended supplements like BSN, like other brands, like I was in Iraq. I was buying individual materials from online sites, so like just glutamine or just like dextrose or malto or creatine, and I was making my own formulas.
You were that guy.
I was that guy. So
He had the lab in his kitchen. You know?
Exactly. So everyone would ask me what I would take, and yeah, I make my own stuff. Like, oh, can you make it for me? I'm like, okay, you know. And I couldn't wrap my head around like the blending, right? I had no idea how it worked in the blending process. So I'm like, all right, so I have to weigh out this material and this material and this material. But if I have 5 different materials in it, I have to weigh like 10 servings. I have to weigh it out. Was it 50 times? I have to weigh it. So I went online. I bought a scale, it was like a $300 scale that measured the milligrams, and I bought these little tubs from Bed Bath and Beyond, and I would make it was insane. It took me like literally like 3 hours to make like 20 servings. It was nuts. But I was also working at night. I was a night reset manager at a big box retail chain, and I would do that at night. I would come home and I would go to the gym during the day, and I would make my supplements during the day. And yeah, and I linked up with, and I can only make certain products. I can only make my pre-workout, my post-workout, and like I didn't have like a protein or anything like that because I didn't even know how to. I was just learning myself. It's like, oh, well, I buy these materials, I mix it. You know, I go to Stop and Shop and buy a little 4C stick pack, and there's my flavoring. You know what I mean? Oh, it tastes really good. I'm like, yeah, it's 4C. You know what I mean? Like I did not do that myself. You know.
Yeah.
But I needed like a protein or other products to sell. I wanted to expand what I was selling, so I found a local manufacturer. Well, I didn't know they were local until I actually called them to try and get it, and they were only a couple of towns away. So I started building a connection with them, and that's ironically. They recruited me to leave my full-time job, and I went to work for them for the next 3 or 4 years. That was about 2012 to 2016.
And then you left to start your own.
Yeah, after that company was having a lot of issues, like financial issues. So that's when we left and we started our own thing. Yeah.
Oh, wow, that's crazy. So you literally were making your own supplements.
Yeah. Everyone says.
Were you selling them to other people?
Yeah. Everyone says it was a bathtub. It was little vials. I actually did. I wore gloves.
Funnels, gloves, everything.
Yeah, it was totally not. If you look at nowadays, it's like, no, that was not compliant at all. But like, I was one person. That was like in 2011, where none of these brokers exist. No, I'm sorry, one broker existed nowadays. Because eventually, I took my pre-workout to one of the brokers nowadays, where I didn't know his broker. Because I took the company. He was like the first broker in the industry, and I found him same thing online. And then when it was too much for me to make in my kitchen, I'm like, all right, I got to scale this thing. I'm growing, you know? So I had them make me bulk. And I had like 330 pounds of bulk of my pre-workout. I remember when I took it home, I lived in this little garage apartment. And I would hold these big drums and went in my house. But these guys definitely think I'm selling drugs.
It's like Breaking Bad.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. But it humbles you, you know? When I didn't know guidance, nobody there to help me. I figured it out on my own. I just kept pushing. I understand the concept. If you make a good product and you have the ability to sell yourself and you can show people results, you know what I mean, and you have integrity and you're honest, you know, it goes a long way. And I built a good network of friends doing that until I went to work for another manufacturer, and I actually self-taught myself for the most part there as well. But just, it was kind of like having a playground to be able to figure it out.
Yeah.
No one there guided me how to do it the right way. If anything, they showed me the wrong way as far as integrity. But I kept with my thought process and my integrity, and just learned the business on a deeper level.
So I mean, back then, how old were you at this point?
This was 2012. I'm 39 now, so it was about 12 years ago. So what, 26, 27?
So if you could go back in time and talk to 25-year-old Mark, what would you tell him? What advice would you want to give that guy?
I would never change a thing. I honestly wouldn't do it.
You wouldn't be like, there's going to be this basketball team called the Brooklyn Nets.
No.
They're coming to New York. Just stay patient, buddy. Don't worry, they're coming.
No, we'll get into that, but that was actually my son got me into basketball pretty heavy. He was never a basketball fan, but he got me pretty heavy.
So it's crazy how Mark and I reconnected, because it had been years since we had talked. I think social media messages here and there every now and then. And then I think either I reached out to you or you reached out to me, where you were doing some due diligence on some brands that were making claims of how they grow business on Amazon, and if this was even possible, right? Like these brands that don't have Instagram, nothing. They're literally just selling on Amazon, but they're making millions of dollars, and they're asking to put in a PO for like 20,000 units. You know, like, could these brands even pay their bills? Like this doesn't make any sense.
Totally liability,
Right?
Yeah,
It's like, I got to double
it.
check how this works. And we started talking, and then I think maybe it was like 2 years of back and forth of like talking about maybe making a product or doing something for a while. And we finally connected on a Brooklyn Nets game.
Oh, got it.
In real life, and out there in the world. And it happened to be where Steph Curry visited Brooklyn.
Oh,
and my
okay.
wife is a huge Steph Curry fan.
Uh-huh.
So Mark made me look so good.
Oh, I remember this. This is not too long ago.
Not too long ago.
Yeah, 4
Yeah,
months
floor seats, essentially, right?
Wow.
And it was something, Mark. It was something.
Listen, you don't gotta send me on a good Nets game, you know. Even though we lost, and it was a tough loss for you with your wife rubbing in my face, but it's okay. she earned that right. She earned that right.
But yeah, and so I mean, since then I went and visited the facility. I saw that it is an actual facility. He's not making it up. They're actually doing everything from the testings to the quality department was quite impressive, right? For I've gone to some places, they don't have any of those machines that you guys have.
Yeah, so the way we look at it is, you mind if I cut you off?
Go ahead.
When we first started, we used to outsource a lot of the testing, and one big thing that we learned and we realized is that it's like a calculator, right? Like the information that you get back, it can only be as accurate as the information you put in to yield that result, right?
Of course,
if that
yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah.
So we would send to labs, like we just had so many problems with outside labs, and it's like problems as far as like a test result would show off before we release it. It's like, this doesn't make sense. Like all the theoretical yield is there. You know what I mean? And so we sent it to 2 more labs to validate it, and the other lab was wrong. And it's like you get to a point where you start not trusting, you know? So it's like we have to control this process in-house. So we looked up HPLC. We bought a UPLC machine, which is basically, it's ultra high pressure. HPLC runs about, I think, 3,000 to 4,000 PSI. A UPLC runs about 15,000 to 18,000 PSI. Which it's a lot faster, has a lot more bandwidth to move through a lot more samples a lot faster. We bought an auto-injector. Like we bought the Ferrari of analytical testing machines.
Dude, I'm in his lab, and I'm like, this is stuff at the biotech company that I was at. Like the BSC the machine, right, and other things that you guys have over there. Like this is stuff you see in like full out like clinical trial labs, like hospitals and all this other stuff. And I'm like, I'm seeing it at a supplement manufacturer. Like, what is going on?
So if we have the expertise to do it, and we hire the right people that know how to manage this equipment, and we spend a lot of money in R&D to validate internal methods, you know what I mean? We only buy certified methods, certified standards for materials, you know? We feel confident that we're doing it 100% the right way.
Yeah.
Not only are we doing it the right way, but we're monetizing the process, right? We outsource for a test might cost us $200 to outsource testing for one ingredient, right? With all reagents, time out after your R&D time to validate a method of, say, beta alanine, right? That same between the certified standard, the time, energy, effort to put into it, because you're pulling with 15, 20 other samples, your $200 cost might now cost you $20, $30.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's just a matter of maximizing your efficiencies and the timing when you test your materials, you know? So, and not only that, but we don't have to wait 7-10 days to release a product. We can release it within 2 days. Like literally the whole test between sample prep and testing, we can have a result in an hour. You know what I mean? But also run 30 other samples at the same time. It's just a matter of having the right people and the right expertise to do that.
I can tell you how many times a manufacturer's like, hey, yeah, your stuff's done, but we can't release it yet. Your stuff's waiting up in a queue. And I'm like, in a queue? For what? They're like, the lab that we send it all to, we're just waiting.
Oh my God.
And you can't control how large the queue is at the lab that's not in your own house.
And not only that, but like if you have somebody at the test, say it's a new person at the lab, which the hardest part I've learned in this industry is by finding good qualified chemists, right? It took us a long time to find the right team. That we have the same team for years. And it could be something as simple as them not doing the math, because a lot of math is a lot of chemistry. It's all chemistry when you're in the lab, you know? So a lot of math that goes into yielding the result from what you just ran, right? They could literally have the decimal point in the wrong spot or do the wrong calculation, and they can mess up your whole result. Right. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it plays a huge part in what you do. And then, so a lot of the time when you get, I'm not saying all labs are bad, because they're not, right? But you could have a lab give you a result that could be out of spec when really it's not out of spec. They just did the math wrong. You know what I mean? Like little things like that. That's why you always have to have somebody there and good people inside your lab that are qualified to run the equipment. You know.
How big is your organization now?
Employee wise or
employee
square feet? Right now we're at 18.
Okay.
We're 18.
Yeah.
Yeah, super lean. So like on each production line, depending on the bottle size, and we can crank out probably about 10 to 12,000 bottles a day of up to 1 pound on each line. And that's
5 million capsules though.
Jesus.
In 1 hour.
Oh, what?
No, I'm just making fun of those other guys that make these wild claims. No, I mean, honestly, no, his facility is very impressive.
Yeah.
And it's about growing the business and scaling it the right way, one brick at a time.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's a matter of just being realistic, being honest. If somebody comes to me and says, hey, can you produce 500,000 bottles of just this one product this month? I'm going to tell you right now, no. You know what I mean? Because you'd put me over capacity. Like, this is what we could do. This is how we can work you in. You know what I mean? This is where we can build you to that realistically, probably within 2 or 3 months. That's not a problem. But if you need a totally pure right now, where you supply the material, or it's just a straight fill without blending, like, no, I don't have the bandwidth because I have other clients. You know what I mean? So we have to build that in. And if you go anywhere and you ask them that question and they tell you, and you offer them some crazy amount of bottles, yeah, we can do no problem. They can't. There's either going to be a serious delay, which a lot of manufacturers, not all of them, but one thing I found in this industry with my previous employers, that a lot of manufacturers, them and other people I've worked with in the past before, a lot of manufacturers don't like to invest back in scalability, right? Like we invest a lot of money. Like we invested probably close to $500,000 in hard cash Q4 last year just to invest back to scale, to build another full-blown packaging line, and we bought a brand new capsule machine, you know? So, and these are high capacity equipment to make sure that we're meeting the demands of our clients. At the end of the day, there's no reason why, if you're transparent with your clients, there's no reason why your lead time should extend past an average with testing and everything done the right way in the 8 to 12 week lead time. That should be fair. I mean, if I heard of a manufacturer up to 20, 24 week lead time, it's like, what?
Right.
That means they took on too much business, or they took on new clients and they're pushing your business back. At the end of the day, I can literally build a full-blown packaging line, and I can scale my capacity 15,000 bottles a shift up to 1 pounders. I mean, do the math on that. 15 times 20 working days a month. How many is that? My math might be a little off, but
3,000.
15. Was that
3,000?
No, 15,000 times.
Oh,
15 times 220. Yeah, 15,000. Yeah, probably 300,000. Let's just say. I mean, I could spend a couple $100,000 and build a line to have that up and operational in 10 to 12 weeks.
Yeah.
Full blown. The only thing I have to do is hire people to fill those lines. But we already have all the training methods, everything there to train employees how to run the lines. Yeah. You know what I mean? Plus the management there. So if people aren't investing, I mean, they're gonna extend your lead times unless it's like a far out raw material that they can't find or they can't get, or like you're using a trademark material that they just happen to drop the ball on, or they don't have enough stock, or like cocoa right now is a big problem in the world. Like cocoa prices went through the roof because of the shortage of supply. So now prices are spiking. So we have to turn around and invest back in our company, and we have to buy cocoa to stabilize the price. We have to buy 8 months worth of cocoa to stabilize the price,
Right?
Or else their price of cocoa might double. So it's companies not wanting to spend the money in infrastructure, whether it be raw materials, stabilize price for your clients, or whether it be scaling capacity.
How do you deal with new product development, right? So there could be a spike. 4 years ago, it was apple cider vinegars, gummies, right? That was like the big product line that came out, and it's always changing. There's always new products coming out. What are you doing when that happens? Like, do you invest and get into that space, or do you just say, that's not what we do, that's not our core specialty, and you can go somewhere else for that?
We wouldn't. So it feels like something like gummies. The gummies became hot. Gummies are hot right now. That doesn't mean we're going to go.
They're not hot right now.
No, they are hot right now. Gummies are very hot right now. But we wouldn't go. Our business isn't gummies. Our business is dry powders and capsules. So we're going to focus on that business before we start to get another business. If companies are at a whim, it's like having somebody. It's having like somebody that builds a foundation for a house, trying to put sheetrock into finishing work. Like, it's not gonna. Yeah, I could do that, but are you good at that? Right. You know what I mean? And if it's worth getting into, you're probably doing volume, and at that point, you're doing R&D on other people's products you could significantly affect their brand. You know what I mean? Yeah. I know right now gummies are having a lot of problems with testing and stuff testing out properly, just due to the materials they use to make the gummies form. And the process to scale. I mean, at the end of the day, we're a volume-based business, right? Like, all manufacturing companies, period, are based on volume, right? So the more volume we make, that's how we make money. And so if you're going to get into something like gummies, like, you have to have the same amount of volume there to be able to get into it. And if you're not, why are you trying to
spinning your wheels?
Yeah, why are you trying to get into something if there's not enough money in there? Now you're taking your head out of what you should be focusing on, which is your bread and butter. I mean, to each their own. But I mean, I've seen guys that try and do it all. They try to do tinctures. They try and do gummies. It's like, oh, we started a gummy line. It's like, yeah, but how much money did you invest in? How much time R&D you put in? You're not even a pro at it. You know what I mean? Like, if we would get into something like that, like, it would probably take 10 months to a year of just straight building a line, R&D, development. Like, we would have already put literally millions of dollars into that before we introduced it to the marketplace. We wouldn't trial and error on other people's stuff.
Got it.
So we focus on our bread and butter, and that's where we seem to really be excelling. And we keep our eggs in our basket. You know what I mean?
Smart.
I feel like I'm having PTSD of just thinking of different manufacturers from like that 8 to 12 week when it's supposed to be. There's one really big manufacturer in New Jersey. They're like one of the industry largest ones. 56 weeks is how long it took for one of my POs with them to get delivered.
Jesus.
And we forgot about it. It just showed up at the warehouse one day, and we're like, what is this? And they sent us a bill. And I'm like, first of all, this isn't even what we negotiated from the original purchase order. But it was just one of those things. I guess raws increased during that time in which they took the order from us, took our deposits from when they actually delivered it. We just rejected it. We're like, we don't want this. Take it back.
And they gave you money back?
No, it was a fight. But
he's like, no.
It was a fight, but it wasn't worth us paying the cost doubled. Yeah. Right. So the deposit, I think at that point was like 25% or 50% or something. And then for us to actually take this product, it would have been 3x what we were expecting to pay for the last half of it. And it just didn't make any sense. Yeah. It was better to just lose the deposit at that point. So I guess the next question I have for you is there's manufacturers popping up with different like capabilities for international. Right, all the people that have different requirements for Europe, different requirements for Australia. Right, Australia has their own thing called like TGA, right?
Yes. And
so, is that something that you think American manufacturers should be adding to their repertoire of certifications or anything like that?
I think it depends on you as a manufacturer and where you are in your company. If it was us 2 years ago, I would say no. There's no point in investing in starting the process to get certified in certain countries. But I think at the point where we are now, like we're already actively looking for like EU certification, TGA, but stuff like that, you typically need to make a product that distributes there. Like you'll contact them and they'll say, okay, we you need a product that's shipping to our country so we can identify that product and we put on a list. You know what I mean? Like they register products like Canada, you ship stuff to Canada, you have to register with them. For Canadian products, it has an MPN number. So you have to register with Health Canada, So everything that you ship there will be registered there. But we already have, like, if you have a client that's big enough that warrants the business to do it, then yeah, I mean, we have the expertise to do it. Like we have some international regulatory. She's phenomenal, And yeah, we can get into pretty much any country. It's just a matter of researching and seeing what they need. Most of them need like a resale certificate, certificate of origin, basic stuff like that. In some countries, it's harder. Some countries, you need money. You have to pay money to register with the government. So I guess it really depends on you as a manufacturer. A lot of countries don't do the volume to other countries, so they'll backdoor it in. You know what I mean? Like I know Australia, a lot of times they'll go through New Zealand to get stuff into the country.
I don't know what he's talking about. This is not how things work.
I've heard. So they say.
Going back to the New Jersey diner menu options of everything you do, I think another thing is that like some startup brands will go to like supply side and meet manufacturers that have 30 different certifications, and then they end up having to get that overhead increase in the cost of the product that they want to make. So sometimes it's just smarter to go with a smaller manufacturer than like the big name brand manufacturer, just because they have every possible certification, and you're going to end up paying an extra $2-3 a unit just to handle the overhead cost that place is paying just to keep that going.
Right.
It's a marketing tool for some. I mean, some people have certifications they don't even use. Like if we have somebody that needs something, like again, we ship a lot to Canada, right? So like now we're registered out of Canada, but it took time to go through that process. And at one point, there wasn't enough business there to quantify starting the process. But due to the clients that we have there, it made sense for us to go through that process, Right. So that cost factor is null to what we're actually doing in business to that country,
I was so bored during COVID. I went and got every certification possible for like marketing. Like I'm HubSpot certified. I'm Klaviyo certified. I even got Apple app certified for no reason at all. Just because I was just sitting bored. Like what am I supposed to do during this time, right?
I became a woodworker during COVID.
Stop playing.
I fashioned together so much furniture, man. Yeah.
Stop playing.
Seriously.
Why are there no photos of this on your Instagram?
Oh, not on Instagram, but I have them. I made tons of furniture, but to your point, the boredom of peak in COVID, man, just forces you to get into something completely.
I got every certification you could imagine when it comes to marketing. And yet you're right. Sometimes like it's just, you got to do a risk assessment. Like, is it even worth it to get into it?
Speaking of COVID, how did you guys survive and thrive through it? Like, I remember I was working with a different supplement company, and the lead times, the delays with shipping and raw materials and all that, the double of the cost.
On Marc?
Yeah, that was absolutely was.
He didn't know you existed yet, so that's my bad.
Well, a lot of people didn't know we existed. To everyone's defense, we've been such a private organization, and again, we've never been a marketing company to go out there and find new business.
Yeah.
Because we always felt that if you're out there looking for new business, on top of giving the customers, other than giving the customers, clients that you already have, all the attention and scaling with them, I feel like it takes away from your current group of clients, and before you know it, their lead time starts to hurt.
Right.
And that's how it becomes. You gain two, you lose one. You gain two, you lose one. And we've always been very loyal to our clients. And again, we were scaling already quite significantly with the clients that we already had without even taking any new client. We were like 2 years without taking on one new client.
Okay.
And we've had people come to us just again through networking, word of mouth, and we're like, sorry, we're at capacity right now. And check back in 6 months, 10 months, a year, you know what I mean? And we'll see where you're at, But that was just not to take away and extend lead times or not give our highest level of service to our current clients, which is how we've been able to grow so much. Now we're at a point where we've just scaled our capacity so much, and we're at a different level to where we can go out there and market and can focus on take on new business. Correct, yeah. But yeah, COVID was tough though. COVID's really tough. That's when we got to full-blown manufacturing. I was working, I know the only thing I don't know is a fully automatic capsule machine. That's the only thing I don't know how to operate in my building.
Because you were working every machine.
I was working blending for almost a year and a half. I was the only person blending a year and a half for the first, for
Did you
a year
have to
and a
lay
half.
people off, or you just...
No, I couldn't find people. It was the opposite. I was trying to find people. People would not work.
That's right.
In New York, people got paid. Oh, I don't know how other countries or the states are, but like in New York, people got paid more money to sit home and do nothing. Yeah, they totally, turning the economy upside down here.
And now Marc's got it all figured out. He's going and getting fresh haircuts, coming on podcasts.
It's my first haircut in like a month and a half, maybe. Yeah, I don't get a lot of haircuts. When I was in the Marine Corps, I did a haircut every month. I was a reserve unit in Garden City, 225.
Yeah. So speaking of the military, I know that the surpluses, they sell product. Have you looked into potentially supplying the surplus outlets?
We never have, to be honest with you. There's so many outlets there to where we can probably help a lot of people between the PXs, between between PXs, between gym chains and bulk protein, we use so much protein. There's so much that we could probably help them there. We haven't got there yet. You know what I mean? Like if we had somebody to go out there and market to these people, yeah, we could knock their socks off.
Do you have an in-house brand?
We don't do in-house brand. So we don't do that because we don't want to compete directly with the people we manufacture for. So it's kind of a conflict of interest.
You want to announce the Disruption Podcast is coming out with our own protein line. Mark is a partner in said line. No,
Disruption Protein.
It'll make you fart every 30 minutes and disrupt the rooms. So no in-house product line.
No, we've always tried to avoid that because again, we don't want to conflict of interest with our regular brands. We've been involved with our previous employer on having house brands before and doing the manufacturing, and it's a different business. It's a totally different business. Manufacturing business is not the same as CPG brand. I'm not a marketer. I don't know how to market. That's why we're coming to you to be our new marketer.
Shameless plug.
Yes, and develop a new website. That's why we're coming to you for that, to market our B2B business. And yeah, it's a totally different. We know our wheelhouse and we stay in it, and we're very good at what we do, and we're focused on evolving and disrupting our industry in a way to where, in a way to where we invest back in our clients heavily. We keep our lead times very stringent, and our quality control is second to none. You know.
So how's it feel being on podcasts, putting yourself out there now?
It's good. This is my first video one. I did one in January with my friend Mike Stedman. It was transition podcast. He was a Marine Corps veteran as well. So I did a podcast with him, but it wasn't in person. It was just audio. So it was a little weird to listen to myself talk afterwards. You know, I'm like, I shouldn't have said that. I should have said this. You know.
How does it feel being inside a studio?
It's pretty wild. I feel like I don't know. It's pretty wild.
It's different.
Totally different. I did not expect this. When I watch your podcast, it does not look like you would see all the cameras and stuff around the lights.
Where do you, when you're back at your office at your facility? Where are you? Are you in an office? Are you on the floor? Are you working from home?
No, I'm in office. So it's kind of like your setup. It's like you say, not a cubicle, though it's like an open floor plan.
Got it.
Yeah, it's an open floor plan. So majority of our we don't have like a big sales team or anything like that. Majority of our workers, of our employees are in production and or the lab. So it's a combination of those two. That's where pretty much all of our workload comes from, you know? Like when
So, I mean, if people want to learn more about Marc, I mean, you can go to www.ampnutra.com. There's a brand new website that should be up before the time that this episode comes out. So
now you just give yourself a deadline, my friend.
I mean, no, it's pretty much already done. Don't worry about it. But I'd love to get feedback from the audience out there and see what they think of Marc's new website. And I mean, do you have anything you want to say to the audience at home before we wrap up?
No, I think I'm all good. It was a pleasure coming out with you guys. I mean, I've been watching what you guys have been doing. I mean, it's super impressive. You know, what you guys have built. You guys are. I saw you guys at the art. It was really cool to watch what you guys do. You know, and to really give live feedback from the industry from somebody that, especially you, that's from the industry. You know, that was kind of a little concern of mine coming in. I was like, oh, well, my other podcast is not from the industry. He was asking basic business questions. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't want to say the wrong thing and rub people the wrong way, you know? So I try to be sheltered in some kind of way, but also still be honest and transparent with everything that we do, you know?
You were a great guest, man.
Absolutely, man. Thank you for making the trip from Long Island. I think it was great for the audience to get to know AMP Nutra and how honest and with the integrity that you run your business. So thank you for that.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And thanks for your service, man.
Thank you. I appreciate that as well.
Yeah, thanks for your service. Thank you. I don't really give them, enough acknowledgement of it, right? But like veteran-owned businesses in this industry, there are not that many of them.
Well, there's not, and I've never really I've never really used that as I've never used that as a step up to like, oh, I'm a veteran. You know what I mean?
I need to add that to the website immediately.
That's a veteran.
No.
That's one of the things that I had.
I look at it as a chapter in my life that I did. It was an experience in my life. It helped gain the perspective I have in life today and get me where I am today.
Yeah.
And this is another chapter in my life, you know, just like my wife, my kids, I have a family, you know, getting married finally. So it's all, it's all chapters, you know.
Well, guys, thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you guys in the next episode.
See you.
Thank you.